But does he speak geek? He makes lots of noise when talking about his toys. He never really grown up, but he's shown up. It's true what you heard. He's definitely a nerd. He speaks geek.
Hello, may the 4th be with you. Always. It's May the 4th, and I thought, since I don't actually have a video planned, amazingly, for today, I would do a very quick one about my little history with Star Wars and why I love it so much, because that's apparently what people want to hear. I'm not expecting this to be a view buster on YouTube, but, I just thought I'd put it out there, and if anyone ever has any questions about how I got into Star Wars, they can refer back to it. I'll probably talk about it more another time, but I just felt like doing a video today. It seemed right. So, where does my journey begin? A long time ago in a galaxy right here, actually. And a house around the corner from where I live now. So I am 32. So when I was very, very young, I went to Planet Hollywood with my family for my sister's birthday. While we were there, there was this big rock slab with a man going in it. And I was like, what's that? And I asked my dad about it. And my dad couldn't quite remember because it'd been a long time since he'd seen Star Wars. And he was like, I think it's some kind of Jabba creatures, pushes Han Solo into like rock. And this is sort of from that, yes. But, they're really good films, actually. We'll watch them, son. Don't worry. He showed me the films. I fell in love with the films. But that's the thing. So I only saw them on like from TV thing originally. And which was awesome. Really awesome. And then I just suddenly fell in love with it. And then the special editions came out on the cinema, in the cinema. So the new digitally enhanced and added and stuff ones came out in the cinema. And I was only allowed to see one of them in the cinema because it was expensive to go to the cinema. So I picked Return of the Jedi because that's the one I was just like, I fell in love with most out of the three, weirdly, when I was a kid. Because there's lots of aliens, Ewoks, droids. There's so much in there. Big space battle, all of it. And the Emperor. But yeah, so I just absolutely fell in love with it. Loved it. Went in the cinema, and then my dad bought the VHS box set. You could get the gold one, which is one half of Darth Vader, which was the pan screen, like the big screen one, and then you get the widescreen edition. We got the widescreen edition, but you could get both and put them together to make a weird half silver, half Darth Vader face on VHS. I absolutely watched these videos to death, and I made no apologies for it. And it's interesting because I didn't know about things like Yub Yub and like the changes, really. I didn't really remember them because it sounds stupid, I don't really remember the first time I watched Star Wars on like those taped from TV ones, and there's been that different from what the special editions were because of how young I was. That's the other thing. So because I watched the other ones so much in such a short space of time, I only really remembered the what are now known as the special editions. That was just my Star Wars. And it's interesting because you have a lot of the community that are like, you're only true fans if you watch the original print, or you're not real fans if you like the special edition changes, you're not real fans if you like the prequels, and you're not real fans, which is a really odd thing to say. Someone's not a real fan. I find that a bit of does it really affect your life that much? Yeah. If I don't think Keith from accounting is a real fan of Star Wars. Oh no. What will I do with my life? Probably carry on living it. But it's about my Star Wars, and that's the thing. It is my Star Wars. So I didn't know Yub Yub. Yub Yub's a cool song, and I love it. It's a bit of trivia and everything like that. But I still prefer the big sort of Triumph song or whatever. I can't remember what it's actually called, the piece of music now. But I just love that version. We get to see all the different planets and stuff like that. I'm really happy with that as it is, and all the other bits. And so that is my Star Wars because I grew up with it. And if that makes me less of a fan, then I'm sorry that you care so much about that, but it's still not going to affect how I like Star Wars. And also the Prequel Trilogy, the prequel films. I grew up with the prequel films. When I was 9, I watched Phantom Menace, and absolutely adored it. Pod racing. I even liked Jar Jar. I was 9. I wanted to be Anakin. I wanted to be sitting in a pod doing that arcade game. Thank God we had that, because I would use that a lot. Sitting in there, almost drunkenly won one of those on eBay once, and that would have been an interesting conversation to have with my parents. Oh, by the way, just got to pop over a few counties to go pick up a full-size pod racing arcade machine. Thankfully, someone outbid me in the last minute. So, don't drink in eBay. Little piece of advice. But going back into the 90s, so when I first saw the films, everything, and I got really into it. The second thing that got me into Star Wars, like with the figures and everything, was my uncle John, God rest his soul, worked at a antique store in Swansea, in Wales. So we used to go up to Wales quite a lot, for my family being there, and which, just some of the best times as a kid. And he gave me a original, like, vintage squid head and a Greedo, no accessories, just those two figures, and the poster which had all the different figures on it with like the bright yellow background. Just absolutely blew my mind. It was so exciting. The figures were vibrant, colourful, different, and I wanted them all. But in my hand, I had one that had like a fish type head. I had one that had like a squid tentacles type thing. They were just so alien. And if I can close my eyes, I can still smell the particular smell of the antique shops on them. It's a very odd thing, but I just remember sitting in the back of the car because from a family of 5, so just sitting in the very back of the car was my little domain, just with these little figures, just being like, just amazed by them and looking at all the other figures I needed to then suddenly get. And this started like this big sort of quest that me and my mum then went on, going through secondhand markets, boot sales. We used to had the thing called the Essex Chronicle, which is like a weekly newspaper where you could have classified adverts in the back. And people used to race to get them and sort of call the number, be the first one to call the number to try and put someone's dibs on these like things people were selling. And you could get huge collections of vintage Star Wars, or as originals as we called them. Everything that came out in 95 onwards, like the Power of the Force 2 line or whatever it's called. Everything onwards we knew as news, like me and my mum, and everything that was from the original sort of kind of run was originals. But playing wise, I just mixed them all together. Who didn't really care about that. But yeah, so we went on this quest to try and find all the figures, and we started picking them up at all sorts of places. You could get them for like £1 a figure. Then we started the more we did it, the more we got educated. We got like the Tom Arts price guide to the Star Wars, or as me and Mum called it, the Star Wars Catalogue. And that's when we started ticking off different things and realising that there was things like the Last 17, or there was 2 different types of Luke with different hairs, and 2 different Yoda snakes, things like that. Really started to learn about all these sort of variations and things that were available. So then obviously the quest, as I got older, the ones that were left were a bit more expensive. Like your blue snaggletooths, your like Luke's Stormtrooper, stuff like that. So they'd be like maybe for special birthdays, and if I got birthday money, I always used to say I'm just get as much Star Wars as possible. It really changed, and it was awesome. My parents just, luckily were just didn't always, when we were kids, it wasn't always about like buying new toys and stuff like that. It was just about buying things trying to get things we like. And luckily, all the things I liked were old, so most of the things I liked were secondhand. So Transformers, Biker Master Mars, Ninja Turtles, Thundercats, Thunderbirds, Stingray, all of that. All of these wonderful things, and they were just older, Star Wars, and cheaper, thankfully more affordable. And so my parents were very accommodating of my absolute Star Wars obsession. And that just always continued to grow, and it grew, and I just had such an amazing collection. I really did. And then I did a very silly thing in my sort of early 20s. I've never stopped collecting them. I think I definitely went right back, and I sold a lot of it and my old toys because I didn't have anyone else in my library that was interested in toys and nerd stuff anymore, which is quite sad. So I just decided to get rid of it. And I got rid of it for a stupidly low price in hindsight, but it's more the regret of things. I had like a vintage Y-Wing, and that was just the coolest toy, and I just loved it. And all my Power Ranger Megazords. And I'm very, very lucky that my wife actually, only very recently at Easter, bought me the original Power Ranger Megazord that we saw in Battlesbridge. And just, yeah, that just blew my mind. Just best wife ever. And so I've regained that little bit of childhood back, because I'm also a big Power Ranger fan, because 32 years old, why wouldn't I be? So I've been trying to gain some of those things back, and as I got a bit older, I've got some really good sort of solidly nerdy friends now who are also very passionate about a lot of things. So like my friends John, Jake, Dave, Pete, Simon, Amy, just all really wonderful people that are just all very nerdy. My friend Dom's like, my like Lord of the Rings nerd. I've all the different nerd groups, and but the thing is also it's more in the pop culture and the every space now, so we can really talk about these things like a lot. And just also a lot of people are buying collectibles and stuff as you get older, which is great. So I've restarted my quest, I've still got. I keep changing my mind about what I do and don't collect. It varies on things, but yeah, Star Wars has never really gone away for me ever. Even at that point when I sold all the toy stuff, I still watched the films ridiculously large amounts. I had ideas about what I was going to do. I was only going at one point I was going to collect the Unleashed figures, the big statue ones and stuff like that. But my heart has always really been on. I always kept one set of originals, by the way. I never sold the actual figures of the actual vintage Star Wars lineup. That was too much of a quest between me and my mum. It took years to do. And even, for example, I got a B-Wing when I was about 9. And, 8 or 9. And me and my mum, absolutely, it didn't have a canopy, didn't have the canopy thing. So we eventually got the cannons. We kept an eye out for a canopy, and I never sold that for some reason. I just couldn't bear to part myself with it. And you can buy complete B-Wings and stuff like that, but I really was determined that we were going to get just the canopy at some point. That actually happened finally, like about a year ago, if that, no, maybe half a year ago. I rang my mum. I was like, "Mum, it's happened." Finally, like 20 odd years of searching for a canopy. My B-Wing, which is not to hand, unfortunately, because I'm going to do a video on it because I love it, is now complete. I say mine, is ours. I always think of it as like mine and my mum's collection, really, because all the time and effort we're getting into it. And yeah, just absolutely brilliant. But it's the B-Wing, even things like that, you keep them and you collect them and you hope one day you can have the whole sort of set. So I will reclaim some of those things I lost, but that happens as life goes on. But I've never lost the love for it. The comics, the video games, all of it. And the thing is, there is so much of it. And some people say, "Oh, it's oversaturated," and that's fine. It probably is for most people. But if you really do love something and you're so invested in a universe, I can't get enough of it. The Book of Boba Fett, was it a masterpiece? No. Am I complaining about it? No, because I'm just happy there's more Star Wars. The sequel trilogy, that's the new prequel trilogy that everyone's moaning about. Again, they had some flaws in there. Finn, very wasted character, unfortunately, but I still really enjoyed them. All of them, all 3 of them, including The Last Jedi. And cue hatred comments down below. Figure-wise, I mean, I'm not a fan of the Black series, like the change to 6-inch, but it gets people really invested in it and they're happy about it, and it's more Star Wars. The books, everyone cried when Disney bought it out, and obviously got rid of all this amazing book canon. But just canon's personal. I think canon's a personal thing. I've always had my own head canon anyway. I had my own adventures and things that I put in my head and what fit with what. And like the Jedi Apprentice books for episode 1, really, really good books. And I'll always be my thing in my head about what actually happened leading up to episode 1 between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. It's about their story. So, the good thing about Star Wars is it worked in so many generations. So for my generation, obviously, you had like the re-release of the original films, and then you had the prequels, and that was sort of my generation. Some generations grew up and have now only know like the Clone Wars was their first Star Wars. And even on the Geek Weekend review, which I talked with my good friends Super Sorrel and Jacob's Toys, we were talking about what their generation, like their kids' generations are, and they're all about like Kylo Ren and Rey and stuff like that, which are definitely 2 amazing characters. But it's amazing. They wouldn't jump to Luke Skywalker being their first sort of like thing when they think of Star Wars. They would jump to Kylo Ren and the First Order and stuff like that. And that's, people see it as negative, but I think that's a really good thing. It just means that Star Wars in some form is just going to last forever. And I'm really happy about that. You've got people now even who are, all about that. The old times are making new figures of the old times. I mean, isn't that great? Even Hasbro, Hasbro are making the retro collection. We got companies like Stan Solo, the Next 17, Trash Compactor, just to name a few off the top of my head, that are bringing back Mark Point Pro Customs, bringing these figures that are in those retro styles, filling those gaps for us. If you really are into that still, like myself, I'm much more of a vintage style collector than I am anything else, because that's what speaks to me most. I love the style. So that's why that's quite heavy on this channel, is because that's something I really believe in and want to support, because I want to see more of it. If you like something, you'd always try and push it forward. But it's just, like I said, Star Wars is never gone away for me. I don't think it's gone away for a lot of people. The only thing I'm not a big fan of sometimes is the fan base. I think the fan base can be very unpleasant to each other. There's no need to be horrible to each other. It's a big old world, and Star Wars is a universe. It's ever expanding and awesome. There's something for everyone in Star Wars. And if you only like certain things, only read certain things, only watch certain things, only collect certain things. Whatever you want to do, it's up to you. It's Star Wars is personal to you as much as for everyone. Everyone's got their own personal connection with it, and there's no need to be unpleasant about it. And there's no need to hound actors if you don't think they performed well in a film. Just say, don't hound them. That's just wrong. Why would you do that? I don't come to your office and start shouting at you if I heard through the grapevine that you did a bad job or something. No one wants to do that. It's all about respect and love. So, it might be a bit of a rambling video, this. I'm aware I didn't script anything. This is just me talking unplugged. Anything could happen. I know that's a Stingray theme song thing. But I've recently started really got back into reading the old expanded universe books. And I have absolutely loved the X-Wing series, is one I can highly recommend. I'm going to start doing a little series of videos called Star Wars Book Club. And I'm just going to talk about all the books that I've read and stuff like that I think are really good. And even ones, if I do find something I think aren't good, still going to talk about them. I am quite a positive person. I tend to find the good in things, which is annoying for some people. But again, if it's not your thing, it's fine. Can't all be the same. Otherwise, life would be really boring if everyone was the same. You'd end up being like a clone. Even clones aren't all the same anymore in Star Wars. So there you go. Bad example, but good example. The Bad Batch? No. These are all really good. I recently got this series of books. I'm really looking forward to this. Star Wars, The Young Jedi Knights. I got this on my birthday this year just gone from my lovely parents. But yeah, the X-Wing series I can really recommend. Really add something to it. All the series. That was Visions up here. You probably can't see, but up there, behind all those, is a lot of... Let's see if I can just zoom up there. There we go. They're all like big reference books and things like that. Got quite a few of those to go through. It's all a bit of a mess in here at the moment because I'm still moving stuff around. So I'm going to do a little book club thing. I'm going to start talking about the series. I've started playing the games from the beginning. I say from the beginning, just what I can get access to, but actually still be able to play. Thankfully, Steam have got a really good Star Wars sale on at the moment. So I have just bought loads of old school Star Wars games from the 90s, 2000s I absolutely love playing for basically next to nothing. Incredible. I'm really happy about that. I've just started playing a Star Wars Jedi Knight 2, Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight, for the first time in, probably since it first came out. I've watched lots of walkthroughs, but to actually play it was brilliant. I actually, when we first got that, so funny little side note on that one. First got that, my dad got me a Star Wars game, got me Star Wars Dark Forces Jedi 2, and I only got about 5 minutes into the first level constantly, and I just kept somehow breaking it because I didn't understand computers. I was so young when it came out. And my dad was like, might be a bit advanced for you. So he took it back and he got me Star Wars X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, which was much more straightforward for me. And I absolutely loved that game. And I've also got that, and I'm also going to be playing that. Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds. But I'm going to do a little series again, just talking about the games quickly. I am going to do a lot more content for this channel. But I'm going to do a little video after this, just saying about what's coming up, because it's not all Star Wars. Here's another little fun thing. So in the 90s... you got a lot of things like this as well. And this is what I always think of with Star Wars, is like random merchandise like this. Like the top trading cards, we're having the little candy dispensers. And yes, the candy is still in there. No, I'm not going to eat it because I don't want to die. But 1995. But just absolutely awesome. But just things like that are what I really love about Star Wars. Just, I've got so many random bits and bobs. Like the 90s were a really interesting era of Star Wars that isn't talked about as much, which I think is a bit of a shame. I'd like to talk about more. Like, even for example, another thing I've got in my eyeline that I can show you. This, like Star Wars pins. This is from '97. I actually do intend to use these, but these are just push pins, like for a notice board, but they're all like little sculpted things. Stuff like that. I love all that random stuff that happened in the 90s. So good. So good. But yeah, that's just a video I wanted to share with you because it's May the 4th. So, thank you for watching. There'll be a lot more content, a lot more Star Wars. And like I said, Star Wars for everyone. Just enjoy it for you. Don't enjoy it for everyone else. Don't hate it for anyone else. Don't, have a go at someone else for not liking it the way you do. Just, Star Wars is love it how you want to love it. But the important thing is just don't try and ruin someone else's love of it. That's not pleasant. And it's not what Star Wars is about. Unless you're the Emperor, then maybe that's what it's about. But all the positive characters, definitely not. But anyway, thank you for listening to me ramble. If you've made it to the end of the video, congratulations. You get an achievement. It's the Ryan Rambles achievement. Ding! But anyway, I'm Ryan Speaks Geek, and I will catch you later.
More videos coming from the dark side soon. And in greater numbers.